The American Constitutional Republic. Affairs of state in Oklahoma. The beliefs, principles, opinions, and views of people just like you. This is 3D Politics. Featuring, of course, creator and editor of Sooner Politics, the online newspaper committed to informing and mobilizing Oklahoma's expanding spectrum of conservative political views, state committeeman for the Tulsa GOP County, David Van. Also, founder and scholar at Constitutional Grounds, an organization teaching liberty and promoting the restoration of constitutional governments, political leader, educational speaker, former state of Oklahoma elector, United States Electoral College. Please welcome David Oldham. And of course, comedian, political humorist, father of five, and former Tulsa mayoral candidate Tommy McKay. Wow, look at that, kids. We are on the air, and I think it's all lined up. We've got a great show. I appreciate you guys being here tonight once again. We have some great news that ties into our shows from last week. Top of the list, old white men hit hardest by the COVID. Can you guys, as old white men, well, me, as old white men, we don't get any credit, but we get hit hard. It's just like a minority.
Yeah.
And also, there's a restaurants awarded Frank Urbanek, the attorney, here recently. We got news, and hopefully Van will have a picture for us. I don't. And then, Oldham, I was hoping you would comment tonight also on the Claremore mask mandate council thing. You posted something about that, and I thought you might be able to comment on that. The Sooner Tea Party, Al Gerhardt has got a story on the Osage County who censured Inhofe, and who's the little other gal? Langford, yeah. And he demurs, and he looks, and so we're going to talk a little bit about that, the Osage censoring. Van is going to play a video, a short video montage. It's a sweet little piece at the
bottom of the hour.
And then we are going to wax eloquent on the Biden administration's desire to increase the minimum wage. I can't wait to hear what you guys say about what I say about the minimum wage. And then the exciting news, stay tuned for the end of the show, because we have what I call a Van announcement.
Oh, yeah.
It's very exciting. David Van has an announcement or more than just one to let you know what's going on in the exciting world. So you got anything to say before I jump right in, gentlemen? You got any big business or news?
I'm ready for bear, man. Governor had his State of the State address. There is going to be a lot to unpack in the weeks to come.
Okay. And when did he give that?
At noon today. And he said he's pro-business, but didn't say anything about shutting down restaurants and taverns.
Let me see how it's going to go in the future here. Cloudy. So, old white, here this is from Sooner Politics 1/28/2021. Old white men hit hardest by COVID fatalities in Oklahoma. The Oklahoma Health Department keeps some very helpful records on the pandemic casualties in the state, and you can find those on that link right there at Sooner Politics, these helpful records. Here are some of the takeaways we can see from accumulative records. We know that there's been a 4-week drop, Van, 6,000 per day at one point, down to 2,000 per day, and now it's even lower. Tell us about the story, please.
Oh, yeah. So, the folks over 65 make up roughly about, 12-14% of our population, but they're more than 80% of the deaths, okay? And women actually have gotten tested positive more for COVID, but men are 30% more likely to die from COVID than women. So we've got a lot of things. And white people, as a proportion of our society, are actually dying higher than Asians, Africans, in other groups. So I'm telling you, it's our turn to play a victim card, right? Hey. I'm just saying. No, it's a serious matter. I don't mean to joke about it.
I
but
do. I'm meaning to joke about it. But that is my job, okay? But yeah,
Yeah.
the thing is, they continue the absurdity of the way they usually spin the news is if we take the story you're giving us now, and we're all reaching for equity now, we're looking for equity. That's the thing. And if we find out, and the data-driven equity that females die at a lower rate than men, then who do we got to kill to bring that equity around? I mean, it's pretty easy, isn't it? I mean, let's do the numbers. So I'm saying this is why the absurdity on the left with all of the ridiculous group association forced and otherwise.
Yeah.
It says here women account for 13% more confirmed cases. Men are 30% more of the deaths.
Yeah.
White ethnicities seem to be proportionately slightly hit harder, especially a larger part of the fatalities.
Yeah.
So again, this gets into those that are over age 65 typically.
Okay.
Which again, we're into the weeds past the totalitarian control.
Let me channel my inner Alex Jones here and say that if this is a conspiracy, if this came from a laboratory run by the CCP, and it happens to go after Caucasian males.
Uh-oh.
You see what I'm saying? Is this
that
actually a
good thing?
biowarfare thing?
Isn't that a good thing? Going after?
If you're Chinese, yes, and you want world domination, I'd say.
Well, I mean, isn't that the left's argument that there's too many white males and the patriarchal domination has
well
the racial patriarchal domination.
Except that my inner Alex Jones says if this is a Chinese plot to use biowarfare to knock down the white man. Because the Asians are actually surviving it very well.
Let me
the problem is they're not knocking down the right age group. They haven't gotten figured out yet because they're not going after the war fighting men.
Government leaders, what demographic do they fit into? Old white men.
Old white guys, but we want them gone.
Chinese
would be doing us a favor then.
Look, I'm still working on my channeling Alex Jones. I've got work to do, okay?
I gotta say, who is the nut job on the show around here?
Trust me.
You guys, I'm telling you, I thought you guys are off in space land out there. Now, I will agree that the idea of global domination is not conspiracy theory. This is something that has been going on since Alexander the Great, and it wasn't like a social media experiment with Alexander the Great. Look, the people want to take over the world.
Yeah.
It's a standard procedure. Pinky and the Brain even wanted to do it.
Right. Now, this part we know that in Wuhan.
I appreciate that.
Okay. I'm sorry.
I got to laugh mold him. I'm winning.
Okay.
Because I don't know who Pinky and the Brain is.
Good enough. Don't explain your laugh, damn it. That ruined it. This isn't Millionaire. You don't have to answer and explain why you.
That was an additional laugh track. I'm laughing and I don't have a clue as to why.
All right.
Trust me.
Sorry, we're completely off. I'm having fun.
Too much fun. Too much fun. All right.
You see this? It means whatever you said went over my head.
Lying. That's what it means. It's like, amen.
Yeah. But no, getting to reality, we do know that this virus originated in a city called Wuhan, China, which is also home to one of the world's most elaborate viral research laboratories run by the Chinese government. Okay? So we know that. Is that coincidence?
And funded in large part by our National Institutes of Health and Dr. Fauci at his department. So I mean, they gave him $7 million for this very virus.
There you go.
On it from the bat.
So
There's also a venereal disease called the hoo-ha virus. It comes out of hoo-ha, China. Hoo-ha. What are you going to do? It's hoo-ha, Van. Yeah. Van, he does a hoo-ha. I've never heard the damn thing. So here's my problem. Van, this is a great story. Van always does a great job of being able to not only have the information, but calculate the numbers and crunch through it and draw some analysis out of it. And so these numbers are critical, and I don't want to take away from the work there, but I think one of the ways we lose this argument, well, it depends. It's not like we're losing the argument. What I'm trying to say here is when we engage in the analysis of these deeper numbers, it continues to gloss over the fact that they're using totalitarian ways of controlling that don't have anything to do with the science. And here we're talking about science. We're talking about the science of the numbers and da-da-da-da, when in fact, by the numbers, we know that the people who should be protected are not the normal people going to Quick Trip without a mask. If you are frail and weak, you need to stay home, wear 4 masks, and call me in the morning. But don't tell everybody else. We have to lower our common denominator to the weakest of us all. That is how we don't get to the moon.
Yeah, and Tom, I want to say this is a teaching moment to my fellow bloggers. I want to encourage you in this, because the info is out there. Don't assume that the commercial media is picking up on everything, because they have their agenda. And the point is here, for the 3rd week in a row, Governor Stitt on Monday is repeating what I'm saying on Sunday night in my article. Okay, a few weeks ago when I said, hey, we have the lowest fatality of any, well, actually we were 4th lowest in the nation. Governor Stitt tweeted my article because he wasn't getting it anywhere else. And I'm telling you, there is more need for citizen journalism now than any time in my lifetime that I can recall.
And I think the point you're making, Van, is that it's not like the information is secret. Well, I can't find out. No, literally you can find out. There was a lot of citizen journalists that discovered and built the graphs to prove out the chart of the voter fraud in Pennsylvania. They could show by the numbers the spike. And those were citizen journalists that put together those algorithms.
Yeah. I have a quick question for you.
Yes.
Are journalists normally not citizens?
Oh, another comedian here.
Yeah.
I'm just, or is it it's like the civilian journalist.
Well, I didn't want to say
non-citizen.
I didn't want to say amateur journalists as opposed to professional.
Amateur, they're amateurish. They're the ones that are not doing real news. That's amateurish at best, propagandist at worst. Yeah. And all it takes is somebody putting out a story that's true.
Yeah.
And you're a journalist. I mean, come on. This whole press pass thing, licensed by the government. Let's get over it. We're real journalists.
That's right. That's right.
I mean, as much as it pains me to admit
in fact, journalism is supposed to be surrounded and built on facts and truth. And so it's really not about whether you have a press pass or who you are, or if you're Chris Wallace's son or the other way around, whichever way it works. The fact is, if a child says the truth, it's the truth. And that's new if it's the truth. And so it really doesn't matter what is true or not true, as long as you're getting the ability to hear what's true.
Yeah.
So I know we're coming right up on a break, and I know that coming up in the show, not a break, but I'm going to reset a second. So instead of anybody else being interrupted, remember, we already talked about old white men being hit hardest tonight. Yeah. And we're going to talk more about coming up right now. Restaurants award Frank Urbanik.
Oh yeah.
A great award for his work. And then we're also going to talk to Oldham about Claremore masks in Jinx and masks in Claremore, and a hard-hitting piece from the Sooner Tea Party about Inhofe and the other fine little lady, James Lankford. So as I just sit here and look, we're so early. Is this what early feels like? so
I wanted you to wait till Oldham started talking and then have the sound go off like it's happened the last 3 weeks.
It wasn't Oldham.
Trust me.
There it is. So you are listening once again, 3D Politics live right here on Facebook. And you can find us, of course, at 3dpoliticslive.com to get our podcast, etc. Don't forget to sign up for that. But this is where you get David Oldham and David Van. David Van, creator and editor of SoonerPolitics.org, and David Oldham, founder and scholar at ConstitutionalGrounds.com. And, of course, me, your fine host, Verbal Viking, Tommy McKay, every Monday night, 7 p.m.ish right here on Facebook Live. So let me set this thing up. Restaurants, this is again from Sooner Politics Restaurants, reward attorneys who fought shutdown orders. From January 31 this year, Tulsa restaurant owners presented Frank Urbanic's team a 5-figure monetary thank you. On Friday night, this last Friday, the owners of 6 Tulsa area restaurants and taverns threw a patriotic party to celebrate the legal team who successfully stopped Governor Stitt's declaration of unspecified powers to shut down the thousands of businesses across the state through a nightly curfew. Tell us about it, Van.
Well, I actually got there a little late. I was looking for you, but I heard your groupies kind of got out of hand.
Now, I'm not going to talk about those alleged teachers.
And
boy, did you run out of there like a scalded cat?
I did not. You missed the. I said I was going to talk about this. Look, we're not going to talk about this because it's nothing but shed.
Listen, Frank brought his wife with him and some others, and I was just so impressed with these owners of this chain of restaurants and taverns.
That was impressive, yeah.
PJ and her partner, Tom Billingsley, the other co-owner. I've known Tom's family forever. They've been actually clients of mine, so it's kind of like a small world again. But yeah, Oldham and I actually, let me just share, we just had our own little presentation that we did with him. And so here's...
He gets 5 figures from the other guys.
He doesn't go drinking with us every week, and I'm not saying alcohol, but... So we wanted him to have 3D politics with him wherever he has his favorite beverage.
Nice. He's got a nice mug there. I think your cube might have a hot. Oh, no, it doesn't. This mic's off. Yeah, that's a nice pick. Too bad I'm not in.
Yeah, that's Oldham's camera. Good camera. Lori took that. Lori, thank you. So anyway, yeah, that was good. And what really impressed me was all of a sudden, when Travis Kidd took a break and his band left the stage, Todd and PJ went up there, grabbed the mic and said, Frank, come on up here. He says, look, this is on behalf of our restaurants, but we want to thank you. And it was a $10,000 check to the legal team. So I want to congratulate Frank. And here's what I want to say. Attorneys, it is of great benefit when you provide a civil rights service to the whole state, like Urbanic and his team did. And you know what? There's people here who appreciate it. There are businesses for whom it makes the difference between life and death. And I'm so proud of this chain of restaurants and bars for stepping up and saying, here's something to make it worth your while.
I want to give a shout out to SoonerPolitics.org. I mean, it was shortly after Sooner Politics reposted the Urbanic findings from the law firm there that Governor Stitt suddenly changed his course and sought proper legislative authorization. So really, again, this is the important role of the press to echo what is true. I think this, I'm coming up with this right now so you can tell me how whack I am. But in Robert's Rules of Order, it's not just one guy makes a motion. You have to have a second.
Yeah.
When you have a second, that's when stuff happens. And so this is the proper function of the press, is to second the motion of what's said that's true. Sooner Politics did a great job on that.
Well, and, people said, hey, Dave, wow, look at, you wrote that, and within hours, the governor changed his mind. But I said, no, it was actually Frank. I was just hearing his. And then you heard Frank a couple weeks ago. He says, no, it was Ben LePac over at 1889 Institute did the deep dive, the heavy lifting on it. So it's a team effort. There's no doubt. Yeah. But none of us are in commercial media. None of us. Right. We're just citizens who want a better society, a better state government.
Yep. And that's the thing, is exposure is what they don't want when they're operating in the dark. They don't want somebody coming and turning over their rock. And you see them, they start scurrying for cover. And that's what this kind of thing does. So we need the attorneys. We want to be there to give them the exposure for the work that they're doing, but we need the people to step up and actually fight in the areas that they know to fight, so that we can do this bloodlessly and without going too far, because right now the only reason these things are going on and we have all these problems is because we don't have redress, and that's because we don't have enough attorneys fighting this thing, these
Yeah.
all of these things
Yeah.
for us, and letting us know that what they're doing so that we can
Yeah. And guys,
get it out there.
no, this is just me talking to some political figures over in Oklahoma City area. They're now talking Frank Urbanek to be the next district attorney over there. Okay.
He would make a fabulous district attorney.
Absolutely would.
And
Absolutely would.
he's never committed an act which would preclude him from being that
Right.
would disqualify him from office,
Yeah.
whereas just about everybody else has served in government and done something wrong.
Yeah.
Well, he took up this cause because it was the right thing to do.
Yes.
He wasn't. This is the story. He's being rewarded for his heroic behavior. I mean,
Yes.
this is exactly what's going on. It says here out of the story from SoonerPolitics.org, Oklahoma recently was declared the top state in the nation for reopening in the current drop of COVID spread. They asked Urbanek if he thinks his court action helped Oklahoma gain that title. Urbanek said, quote, "That's a different way of looking at it if you're saying I helped the governor, because I'm not expecting an invitation to the mansion anytime soon."
Yeah.
It's funny how arguing with the governor and correcting the governor's ways made the state look better.
Absolutely.
Well, yeah.
And listen, today, and I'm not going to go deeply into the State of the State address, but Stitt was able to make the argument is we've got to prioritize our business community and making this a business-friendly state and keeping our regulations at a minimum. He
Right.
couldn't have said that 3 weeks ago while he was locking down restaurants.
Right, really. And I because I said it, I'm amazed at the brilliance that I just came up with, that it is the echoing of the seconding of the motion of truth. When Urbanek says a thing that's true and SoonerPolitics.org seconds the motion, then the governor changes his mind.
Yeah, and those liberty advocates like Frank and Oldham and you, myself, we don't want to harm our governor. We want to make his governance even better.
Right.
And it's important to distinguish.
It's what I tell to every elected official that I ever meet. It's like, I want to be a friend. I want to assist. I don't want to fight you on these things, but when you cross the line and you go unconstitutional, I've got no choice.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
Because it's not party and it's not politician. It's who is operating under the truth of the Constitution and the First 10 Amendments mainly. I mean, so we do have a lot of show. Oldham, you're going to talk, I hope, about the Claremore mask mandate that you posted on. A little bit probably will bleed over into the Jinx thing. You'll probably get interrupted by the bottom of the hour. And then we'll come back and talk some more about the Sooner Tea Party. But tell us what's going on that you posted on earlier about the Claremore mask man. I think they had a city council meeting tonight.
well, they are in a city council meeting now. I haven't been able to pull it up and find out what has been going on, but all of a sudden this morning we find out that the Claremore City Council is talking mask mandate, and it's the same mask mandate as pretty much as every other city around.
Right.
And I really wanted to go out there and be out there for the meeting. Unfortunately, just so booked up that wasn't going to happen today. But anyway, so they're going to have their mandate meeting, and it's pretty much just a meeting just for the mandate, from what I could tell. It may be a regular meeting, and they may do some regular business, but it was going to be about the mandate. And it turns out that the gentleman who put everything up was a counselor, city councilor in Claremore, and wants to see some pushback from the public for he has his residents who may or may not speak out, but he knows that his constituency doesn't want it, and so he was wanting people to show up to the meeting. and I'm hopeful that they did, that they went in maskless, and that they got a chance to speak.
So he's kind of following the guy that has the tourism ID about Bigfoot. He's like, let's bring people in here, you know, to argue about it, just to get some business in here.
I'm just letting you guys know, I just checked the Claremore Daily Progress. No update yet on that. I'll be monitoring it throughout the show.
Oh, breaking news. Oh.
Yep. All right.
Thank you. Thank you. Because you following that, how's the Claremore thing? Is it now? I've got some trouble here. Go ahead. To the Jinx. When you guys went out to Jinx and Lori played the deal, the video she had.
Actually, she was in Broken Arrow.
Okay, I'm confused.
Jinx is the one that canceled their meeting because the non-maskers made it unsafe.
Right. Right. Well, of course.
And that that was
a pitchfork. A pitchfork with no mask, and I'm dangerous. Yeah.
This is the pitchfork.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
So anyway, but the mandate, from what I read, was pretty much the same as the Broken Arrow one, or the Jenks one, or the Tulsa one. They're all following the same basic pattern, that they have responsibilities. The duty, the oath sworn duty, pretty much, or the under their charter, to protect the public health, and among other things.
Yeah, we're gonna get
and therefore they need dictatorial power to tell us what to do so that they can protect us.
Well, they're no longer representing you, Oldham. They're protecting you. I mean,
okay,
a whole issue now, isn't it?
I'm checking this. I have to get a confirmation, but evidently here's the mask that they're recommending in the Claremore City meeting as a mask to protect your whole body. All right. So I haven't got that confirmed yet, but it's getting there. Okay.
Oh boy.
I've known people who that's what they wore. Right here in the U.S., that is what they wear. They probably have a real mask underneath that, but we'll.
Is that a real mask
these days?
Is that a real mask or a Sears mask?
Well, a non-medical medical mask. That one. But the thing that I want to say about Claremore, okay, and this thing came up really fast. We didn't have a chance to go out and play and do the whole politics thing. At least I didn't have a chance to do much of that. Remember, even though they come up with a mask mandate, there is no penalty in the mask mandate. Now, mind you, what we have is institutionalized harassment and discrimination being set up by these cities that pass these mandates or resolutions.
And
that's
shaming.
the entire point. Now they do not apply a penalty, but because of what they have started, businesses now will apply a penalty and not let you enter their facility, perhaps. Or not allow the exemptions that the law specifically includes. And because of that, they are discriminating from all sorts of people and feeling like they have this authority to be judge and jury of us, while just because it's private property. We'll have to talk about that, because that's actually a fiction. It is private property, but it's a fiction that if they're public accommodation, that they can discriminate. And we need to start talking about that, because that's how we fight back against these people. And I think we start suing these counselors for discrimination and ADA non-compliance.
And I've been pushing for contact tracing on all city councilors and officials and staffers, anyone elected, not for virus contact tracing, but just to see who they're hanging out with.
Lobbyists.
I want to know where they're going,
That's
who
right.
they're talking to, what kind of relations they have with people. You guys are listening. I want to thank Tim Harper and Norma Sapp for listening again on a Monday night. Tommy McKay here with David Oldham and David Van. Van, let's roll that video that you had.
All right, into our hard break, folks. Here we go. 2 anthems. Right here, folks. There you go.
Well, that's extreme.
When Americans do that, that's terrorism. But when the French do it, that's patriotism.
That's de la du toi, du toi.
Tom, did we just get kicked off Facebook?
I don't
know.
Oh my God! Don't scare me like that.
No, we could.
No, we have 5 viewers.
No. Now, that scene from the famous, story, Les Miserables, which was turned into movies. I remember watching an old 1940s movie, Les Miserables. And then, of course, eventually Broadway made it a worldwide hit. But that was not the French Revolution that started with the beheading of Marie Antoinette. This is a scene from a second or third revolution, because many times when people want to throw off the bonds of their oppressors, the people heading the fight saying, we want liberty, really just want to be the next guy at the king of the hill. And the French had more tyrants coming after tyrants, all saying, we want liberty from that tyrant. So
as a lot of people don't realize that there were more than one French Revolution.
Yeah.
Yes.
Tom, you know that the guillotine, right, was an invention that was one of the first uses was on Marie Antoinette and King Louis XVI. You know who was invented by? You know what happened to that guy? He was executed on the guillotine.
I like to say guillotine, but that's just
okay. I'm working on being,
tomato,
trying to be more French, more suave and deboner,
De la du toi. That's what I say. It's a French word for. Man, that is good stuff. No, really, this is one of the. So if we're supposed to compete globally, and the public schools are supposed to get us ready for that, how come all the children, including me, didn't know that there was more than it took Van today to tell me there was another French Revolution? I didn't learn that in social studies.
Oh, yeah.
Tom, read a little.
God, come on now.
Hey, I never knew what the term selling short meant until last weekend.
Sure, tell us the GameStop before we get into the other boring stuff. Do that. Yeah,
well,
that's
Tom,
amazing. What happened with that?
Tom, I'm going to borrow your lawnmower, but when you need it, I'll have to go buy another one because I hawked your lawnmower without you knowing.
I thought that was the agreement.
Yeah, you would be one of the informed people.
Yeah.
But
tell
we'll
them
watch
that, because I got a comment on that. Tell them that. That's interesting.
Well, Oldham and I were trying to come up with analogies, but basically, your deal with your stockbroker, you think he has your best interest, he's going to call you up and say, you better sell, that stock's about to go down. But they're not doing that because they got deals with the hedge funds that they want you to hang on to that so the hedge fund can sell it out from under you and him make the money, and then they'll just buy one for you the next time you say, I want to do something.
Now, Van, I don't want to be accused of being extremist around here.
Okay.
So because people are like, look, it's an agreement. The broker borrows the stock. The guy knows he's borrowing it. He knows he's going to sell it.
Yeah.
And then
that's not exactly the way it works.
Most people had no idea that their stock got sold out from us.
Actually, a whole lot
couldn't
more.
Even get there.
Your stockbroker is your bookie.
Yeah, there you go.
It's the analogy is complete.
I'm not worried.
Yeah, it is.
The bookie is looking to work off the vig.
Yeah.
Okay, the vigorish in bookie speak in stockbroker, it's his commission, his percentage that he makes for transacting the transaction.
Yeah.
That's all he wants to do. So what happens is, if he knows that somebody's betting heavily one direction and he has to take the bet, he has to fly to Vegas to offset the bet.
Yes.
Okay? Because he's got to come out even
Yeah.
on the bets, then he just takes the commission. That is a stockbroker's job.
Yeah.
You are not in the equation.
Yeah.
Only
Let me
him
ask you
and
this.
making his money.
Let me ask you this, because I say that you never did really get to the point that I say the problem is with the stock short squeeze, and that is the money gets separated from the stock and the ownership of the stock. That doesn't happen with the bookie.
Well, the difference is that with stocks, you have different kinds of bets, different ways that you can make bets. And
when the bet goes through and they sell the stock short, the money stays with the bookie, but the stock is gone.
It stays with the hedge fund. The hedge fund hangs on to the money until the broker says, "Oh, my client wants his stock back."
And for that period of time,
he goes out and buys a stock to replace it.
And that window of time is the vulnerability, and the vulnerability exists, in my opinion, because the money during that period of time is separated from the stock. The money that owns the stock is not connected to the stock. And that is the vulnerability.
Right. The hedge funds.
Ownership. The way you define ownership is you are allowed and able to sell.
Yeah.
And when the broker's really not selling with ownership authority.
Yeah. And then we haven't even talked about the fact that what if there's an annual stockholders meeting and the guy who owns those shares wants to go and he finds out somebody else owns those shares and is voting in his place? Or, it's time for a quarterly dividend check. How come I didn't get mine? Well, we sold your stock to somebody else. So there's all kinds of issues here. And your average retail stock investor who's not all that sophisticated doesn't know all these things.
Well, stock market's just like comedy. Timing is everything. And so if there is a window of vulnerability where the money is separated from the ability to own the stock, I mean, the money's in one place that's supposed to be representing the ownership of the stock, and the stock is somewhere else. And they're waiting in this limbo of time where the actual ownership is in question. And that is the vulnerability. And so the short squeeze on GameStop was simply a great timing issue, just like comedy. That's why I know this stuff, guys.
Yeah.
I'm an expert.
Yeah, the human interest side of this is young people who grew up on GameStop, right? Or GameStop. Good friend of mine, lifelong friend of mine, worked for them for years out of the Minneapolis office. And these are people that says, my God, it's going away, just like Blockbuster and Nokia phones and all this. And they got to be worth more than that pittance that they're trading for. They said, let's buy it up and bring it back where we think it's supposed to be. And then it just took off from there. And that's the nature of the stock market.
I mean, perception is reality in the stock market, just like it is in the White House.
Well, one of the things that is not being said, for those who aren't familiar with the story, the hedge fund decided to buy short. In other words, bet that the stock was going to tank, that it was going to go down. And so what they did was they bought at whatever the rate was, and I don't remember how much it was, but it wasn't that much. I think it was $27. And they were expecting it to go down below 10.
Oh, it went down to 6.
Okay, so it went down, but they didn't exercise their
and no, they weren't. They were selling it at 20, and it went down to 6.
Good try, Oldham. Try again. What the hell?
Okay, that's fine. But they didn't. The hedge fund should have exercised their option at 6. And because then they're a winner, because then they make the difference between 10 and 6.
Right.
The and that gets into a little bit more than I'm ready to explain to everybody here in just 2 seconds. But but the thing is, that was what they were betting on.
Yeah.
The the thing is that they got to 6, they held on to it thinking it would go even further, and all of a sudden these guys bought it up to 40, 50, 100.
Yeah.
It ended up over $200. Now remember
Way more.
that what happened was that the guys in the hedge fund that got destroyed bought it at 27 and have to replace it at whatever
No,
over
they sold it. They sold it at 27, thinking that they'll buy it when it starts going up from 6. But they all sold out, and now the price is higher.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I could be wrong.
Numbers. It's very difficult either way, and this is why it's confusing. As Oldham explains the reality, it's hard to follow. This is I've even said to Clay Clark, following your great numbers is hard to do on a show like this.
And you could be right. Maybe it is a buy, but
hard.
they bought it. They borrowed.
They borrowed and sold. They sold what they borrowed from brokerage houses.
What I'm saying, this is why I attack the philosophy, because instead of doing the numbers, I'm not a betting man.
Yeah.
The vulnerability for whoever and why ever occurred because ownership was literally in question. That is, the money had been separated from following the stock, and it was out there, and that allowed for the timing of those guys to come in and adjust its price.
Yeah.
It's the vulnerability of the separation of ownership. That's the problem.
This is a paradigm shift. This is a cultural explosion, because now the movements on the stock market might be coming out of a Reddit chat room, a group, or it could be coming from some text thing through Telegram or some other app. And, and you've got people involved here that the hedge funds people all thought they were part of that same little culture hanging out at, Wall and Main, and keeping an eye on what's there. But that's not where the action was happening. Now that we've got electronic trading going on, it's all computerized. There's no reason to hang out at Wall and Main.
Right. Well, and the other thing is, remember that this is no different than a hostile takeover. That we're gonna basically run your company into the ground because we're gonna make a lot of money by doing so.
Yes.
And we don't care what happens to all y'all. The thing is, that's the game. That's what ends up happening because they get so underfunded because other people want to get in on the game. They then get in on it and they bid it down so much that the company can't operate anymore.
Yeah.
And the company puts out stock to raise funds, to raise money. And
good point.
And that is why they have stock out there. And if the stock gets devalued to the point that, you're getting pennies, you're getting a penny when you need hundreds of dollars, then you're not going to make it. And that's the issue.
Yeah. I think this is a brilliant point that you're bringing out, Oldham, is that the motivation for presenting stock for purchase.
Yeah.
It's not like we're so rich, we're going to see if we can make a lot of money, by selling stuff. They're like, damn, we need but they need the money. That's the point you just made that lit me up, is that they literally need the money. That's why they put the stock out there, is so that they can scale up. They're trying to benefit the community to a higher and better degree, and they need to scale up.
Yeah. And here's another paradigm shift in this, is that trust in your broker, your financial manager, may be totally shot now, because now we're finding out these brokerage houses, the big ones in that, they aren't necessarily looking out for that retail investor, because when the market's going down, they're more interested in setting up something, a sweetheart deal with a hedge fund, because that's where they're going to make their money on a downturn.
Right. And back to the citizen journalist thing. Not everybody knows everything at all times. There was a buddy of mine back in the day when they were passing the big omnibus thing. And I just, they were talking about it was 35 million pages. perfect. And anyway, I just happened to dig into all of the pages of stuff and I accidentally read the portion about steel and what they were going to do with steel. And I told a buddy of mine, and he informed his broker that that's not what it says. His broker verified my investigation, and they didn't buy the steel because it was all a scam. Essentially the headline says one thing, it's bait and switch when you get into the third paragraph. Once again, by hailing frequency, Tommy McKay, your fine verbal Viking and host, plunderer of conversation on 3D Politics Live every Monday night at 7 p.m. with my fine co-host David Vann, creator and editor of SumaPolitics.org, and David Oldham, found holler at constitutionalgrounds.com. If you guys are not bored, I have more I want to go to. I don't want to just gloss over this Sooner Tea Party story.
Yeah.
But I do want to I've worked hard for 2 weeks daring myself to talk about the minimum wage.
Yeah.
The Democrats are wanting it, and I really want to get your input. But real quickly, we don't have to go forever on this, but because I'm tripped by Langford's Girlwood, Langhoff got a resolution statement put against him. This is from the Sooner Tea Party, Monday, January 24th this year. Osage County GOP censures Langford and Inhofe. Osage County GOP convention censures Langford and County held their precinct meetings county convention on Saturday and led the state in censuring Oklahoma's 2 traitorous senators for their attack on President Trump and their refusal to represent the will of the voters of Oklahoma. Let them run as Democrats, says Senator Tea Party. And here is the resolution from the GOP Osage County, Langford and Inhofe resolution. Quote, whereas Senator Jen Inhofe and Senator James Langford have betrayed the Oklahoma Republican Party and their Republican, Independent, and Conservative Democrat constituents, whereas neither Inhofe nor Langford represented the desires or interests of their constituents on January 6, 2021 by refusing to support the effort to delay the counting of the electoral ballots until a 10-day investigation had occurred, whereas their subsequent vote to confirm Joe Biden as the president-elect was complete betrayal of Oklahoma, the Republican Party, and President Trump. Be it resolved that both men shall be stripped from the executive committee of the Republican Party of Oklahoma, along with any representatives they might send or have sent in the past. Be it also resolved that both Inhofe and Langford are hereby stripped of the Republican Party membership and any right to speak at any Oklahoma Republican Party event or meeting. Be it also resolved that both Inhofe and Langford are stripped of any right to run as a Republican candidate or use the Republican brand or name from this day resolution passes. Be it finally resolved that a copy of this resolution, once passed, shall be sent to all Oklahoma GOP county chairmen, to the National Republican Party, and to all state Republican parties, and to all media outlets in the state of Oklahoma. Pow! How do you like that, gentlemen? Man.
I'm gonna let Oldham go first.
Man.
It's a party resolution. It was a resolution.
That's
right?
some high.
Yeah.
Well, it starts with the biggest problem I have is that the Osage GOP unfortunately thinks that 10-day thing was legitimate. That's not. That's a problem.
Yeah.
The other thing is that unfortunately we can't strip anybody of being a member of our party because they self-identify. And
not in Oklahoma. By Oklahoma law, the parties have lost that autonomy.
You mean? Yeah. We've completely lost it.
Yeah.
When I was told that I wasn't a true Republican, that I was, I was like, well,
kind of
So,
kind of
so sorry
Langford he's
because
not a man.
I'm the only one that said I was, you know, and I'm the only vote. I'm the only vote on that one.
Yeah.
So, but you know, unfortunately, they've missed all of that. I mean, I love the spirit behind it.
Yeah.
I love
Love the
that
passion.
part of thing. That nothing's gonna ever happen. But it does make for fun. So, and hopefully they feel a little bit of
It was fun,
pressure.
wasn't it? I loved it. Well, I mean,
Hopefully
the thing
Langford
is,
feels
so let's say that well, really, I mean, let me play the Tea Party advocate. Wow, that was a nice analogy, wasn't it? But I mean, so let's say that they're right. Let's say that Oldham's right, that this is ridiculous fodder, that nothing's going to happen. The 10-day investigation, da 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 da. The point really here in the resolution is not that that the 10-day investigation is going to do anything. It's that the represented the constituents wanted to be represented. They wanted to be represented. We were looking for the 10 days. I don't care what the outcome is. It's like a coach in a football team. Let's blame him for throwing a Hail Mary, right?
Yeah.
Why are you
Well-
trying to make 10 more yards
Well-
when you're going to lose the game?
the problem
As the
is
Constitution says, they shall immediately vote.
yeah, the problem is the Constitution doesn't allow for the 10 days. You have
Yes.
to do that unconstitutionally. The vote has to take place on the date specified by Congress, and or it is the 20th. I think it is the 20th. And so that is the day for the counting of the votes. The thing that they needed to do was fight to not count the states that ran illegal elections.
Yes.
That was required. Now, unfortunately, the Osage GOP hasn't been listening appropriately enough to 3D politics to have learned all of that, because we have discussed
Well,
it
at least
ad
they're mad as
infinitum.
hell. That's
Yeah.
The-
Now, one of the
Yeah.
things, if I could say, that the Republican Party in Oklahoma can do is remove them from the state committee, those DC delegates. Okay, but those
They
are
can?
under charges, and then they are given at least 10 days at another state committee meeting to defend their actions against those charges. That's how it happens with most elected members of the state committee. Now that
Okay.
would be, and we might not even do that, because the Speaker of the House last session, Harold Wright, was removed from the state committee because he gave money to the Democrat running against a Republican for Senate seat. And so, and I wasn't there, but the state committee, they're mad as hell because they raised money for the Republican, and then to have this other politician give money to the other side, it was very insulting. So they did that. And there's others that the state committee could have done the same. For instance, Carol Bush, because she endorsed
Right.
Kendra Horn, right?
Right.
So these things, there are ways of doing it, but that's not what we saw in the resolution. So
Well,
I just wanted, yes.
I didn't know that it was even possible under the GOP bylaws to.
Well, not to remove them from office, but remove them
No,
from
no, no.
the
We
party.
don't have any power about removing them from office constitutionally. But
Yeah.
but even removing them from the GOP board, I did not know that was in the bylaws.
Yes, in
So-
fact, it was done about 2 years ago, and it was a motion by Andrew Lopez, seconded by, I think, Steve Fair, our national committee man, previously.
Okay.
So yeah, it was overwhelming, that
Right.
he passed. Yeah.
Well, that's
No,
fabulous.
I'm going to continue for the Sooner Tea Party article just for the fun of it, because here's what I say. Even if, and I agree, you guys are always here to teach me every day, and you know, I make points. You know, I got my stuff, but basically, I learn from you guys about state politics and the Constitution. what I like about the piece is that they're arguing about representation. It's not about, okay, maybe it's not exactly the way, whatever you think it should be, the way it was. They're raging with a grievance for governance.
Well, yeah,
it's a grievance.
It's a resolution.
I mean, isn't that? I mean, that's what I like about it.
Yeah, it's a rant.
Look, you guys can't. So if I could, well, I think more than a rant. I do a rant, and this is my thing. This is my problem with it with Langford, and that's why I continue to say he might as well wear a dress, and that is because effeminate is by definition demurring. Demurring literally means giving way. I won't make any references to genitalia, but the fact is women give way, men penetrate. And so when Langford says he's going to do a thing, he's going to put his foot, if your husband says he's going to put his foot down and fight the dinosaur at the front of the cave, and then says, you know what? That dinosaur's got some big ass teeth. And then he runs back to the bedroom and changes his mind. That is behavior. And Langford should put on a dress and shave his legs because he's acting like a woman. And if you're not going to act like a man, here's how you act like a man next time, Langford. Go ahead and put your foot down and then stay there instead of acting like a woman, pulling your skirt up and running.
And
plant the flag,
right?
Or don't plant the flag, Mayfield. God almighty.
Inhofe, like it or hate it, Inhofe made a principled decision, a statement, and we knew going in where he was at. Langford, we expected him on one side, and then they had a ruckus out in the halls, and all of a sudden he's on the other side and apologized.
That is absolutely unacceptable. If your morals can change, I mean, are we Spain now that you know they have a terrorist bombing, and they vote for the terrorists?
Yeah.
I mean, is that where we're coming from? Because that's exactly what happened.
I am trying to make this personal. This is not a continent, and this is not a group. This is a man.
Oh, no.
If I am in the foxhole with Inhofe, I will not trust him to do what he says he's going to do.
Yeah. Well, in what I want to say here, Senator Langford, Senator Inhofe, if you want to come on the show sometime, we'll give you plenty of time. We won't cut you off.
Very polite person.
We'll do a special.
Ask the teachers. She said she was homeless. I said that's more attractive than teach.
Are you talking about your groupies Friday night?
Nope, I'm not. I'm not, by the way. It was a great thing. So
Scalded cat.
It's a bad thing out there. So you guys we got a couple things. I am chomping at the bit to get in to the minimum wage, but I will tell you, it's so hot and I've got so much to talk about. I could postpone it till next week. And I know Van has got what I call Van announcements. So let's talk about the minimum wage next week, because there is plenty to talk about, and that can go on and on.
Yeah, that has some shelf life.
And that's definitely got shelf life.
It does have shelf life, and I've got a ton of comments on that and I want to get your feedback on it. So let's
remember, the one thing that you have to remember that we just throw it out there is that the raising of the minimum wage is all about paying the swamp even more money. That's what it's about. I'll leave it there and we'll talk about
pretty
it.
Close.
Yeah.
And trust me. If I had a good computer, it would have said trust me a long time ago. So let's do this, kiddies. We're going to take it all the way back to here. We're going to do this right now. Oh, here we are again. That's my new catchphrase, by the way. I want you guys to know that first. Here we are again. The American Constitutional Republic, a fair state in Oklahoma, the beliefs, principles, opinions, and views of you. This is 3D Politics. every Monday night, 7 p.m. ish, right here on Facebook Live, featuring David Van, creator and editor of SoonerPolitics.org, expert on Oklahoma state government, professional advocate for the Tulsa County GOP, and of course, as well, our other co-host, David Oldham, founder and scholar at constitutionalgrounds.com, political leader, educational speaker, former state of Oklahoma elector, United States Electoral College. Find him at constitutionalgrounds.com. And of course, me, your fine verbal Viking, your constitutional follower here. That's right, kids, 3D politics. And we have got at the top of this hour, next week, I'm going to get into Biden and the Democrats seeking ambitious hike in U.S. minimum wage laws. And to tease that a little, the pretense for next week on that is that the minimum wage laws are promoted to as protecting the worker from the employer. But I will show next week that there are much more restrictions to the employee through minimum wage than there is to the employer at all. Yeah. But now, here we are once again for the final half hour of a 90-minute show, 3D Politics. I appreciate you guys being here once again. It's been an exciting week for me personally. And let's hear what Van has got coming up.
All right. Should I take it from the top?
I just take it right from the top.
All right. Well, first of all, we are celebrating now 7 years at Sooner Politics. It was about this month in 2014 that I got together with some of my mentors in blogging and said, hey, well, let's do an aggregate feed, get all the blogs on a page by RSS feed, and where people can keep up on everything. And we took off from there. Now we've got, oh gosh, probably 80, 90 blogging partners. So this has been great. Now, what I'm having to do, it's not going away. In fact, I'm not even letting go of it, but what I am doing is moving over management of it so that it can continue in its continuity, so that all the blogging partners, all the great journalists that contribute to it are treated properly, treated with everything that Sooner Politics has to bring. It's a non-monetary agreement. It's just, we love working with them, getting their message out. So because I'm going to be focusing on some larger matters, and I want those bloggers to have uninterrupted and professional presentation. Now, after last Monday night's show, John Bennett was on. If you haven't seen it, you've got to see it. I said something in there. I said, because of who he is, what he stands for, and because I know he's authentic, I am in John Bennett's corner. After the show, my phone starts ringing, and I was called upon to make good on my claim to be in his corner. So I'm declaring my candidacy for vice chairman of the OKGOP.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yes. Now, it's not for any agenda or priorities of my own, but to support and assist a Chairman John Bennett. And I'm going to let it go there. The people who've talked to me, I'm going to leave it up to them to make their own statements. But I told many of them, I said, Monday night, I'll do it live on 3D Politics.
So one of the things, this is impressive, breaking news once again, Van always bringing us breaking news.
Yeah.
I swore we weren't breaking news, and he's like, "Oh yeah, watch this."
My beer.
But I will say, I mean, I even with those people that I've disagreed with in the political arena, it takes a lot of guts and courage, literally courage, to run any political campaign. So you are running, say again, for what?
It is state vice chairman. Now,
and
it's
vice
a
chairman.
thing.
Is this a public elected position or a party elected position?
This is at our party state convention. We'll have to choose a chairman and a vice chairman. John has put his hat in the ring. To my knowledge, he's the only one who has for chairman. And but we need also a vice chairman. I would not be doing this if John wasn't a strong candidate for chairman.
Oh, this is like reverse neighborhood football where instead of the team captain says, I'll pick that guy, the guy out there says, I'll pick that team captain. Nice job, man. Wow.
Well, you know,
Amazing.
yeah, it's really important that a vice chair be compatible with the chairman. We've seen in
That's
recent
true.
years multiple times, especially in the last 10 years. Now, there's been some great teams. I have to say, Matt Pinnell and Pam Pollard,
Oh,
uh, they work together well. But of course, Matt's a people person. Matt's pretty easy to get along with. Now, Pam may have
Yeah, we
some
won't talk about
stories.
Pam.
Yeah, but again, we've had some very confrontational times with the former Senator Randy Brogdon and Estela Hernandez, and that became pretty big news. And just last year we had a breakdown because we had two people that, for whatever reason, and I know them both, and I've talked to them both, and I've heard both of them say things, and they'll both tell you what I said. I said, you're both responsible to pick up the phone and call the other one.
that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So yeah, these are the things, I want to do. I see a lot of needs. I'm hearing a lot of people talk about things. The thing that, and I did tell John Bennett yesterday, I called him, said, okay, I'm going to do this. I said, John, I've already gone on the record supporting you. You decide, who you're going to support. I'm not asking any, reciprocity. But I said, what I believe I hear you saying is the Oklahoma Republican Party needs to reclaim their brand. What does it mean? What do we stand for? And protect that brand. Protect what we are. So.
Yeah, I got to say, I mean, they're all talking about third party these days, blah, 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 blah. And if Trump did anything, he came in and solidified the Republican base.
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, this isn't like the libertarians came out, in force. If anything, libertarians changed over in populist fashion to the Republican Party when Trump made constitutionalism popular. That's all.
Yeah.
There was no constitutionalist in Trump. He just simply said stuff that was popular, happened to be constitutional, and then boom, everything exploded.
Yeah. Yeah, my thing here, guys, you have to understand, 9 years ago, I ran Rick Santorum's campaign. I was state coordinator, right? And I told, some of the other coordinators for the other campaigns, I said, you'll run circles around me tactically, strategically. The reason that we were able to accomplish a win in Oklahoma was we built a team. And it takes special skills to get parts of that team working together. And I feel like I've been able to do that with the citizen journalists. I feel like I've been able to do that on what campaigns I've made. But the last 8-9 years, I've been focusing on communications. And I'm focusing on getting all the facets of this beautiful diamond, this Oklahoma Republican Party. Every facet's got to sparkle. And it's got to understand that it's only one facet, each one. So if your little group, feels like you're the most important, you know what? You are important, okay? I'm not going to say you're the most important. We've got to be one beautiful diamond. How's that for analogy?
Yeah, I don't mind that.
That's a good one.
I-
That's actually a really good one.
I like the one that resonates with me is your team. Again, Biden has been in office for over a week, and I continue to be underrepresented in the NFL. I've been looking for an NFL position for much longer than Colin Kaepernick has ever been born, and so there's no equity in the NFL. And Van, you're just I'm off on my joke now. You're putting your the analogy is the football analogy. When I argued against the schools and the PTA and protecting the integrity of the parents, because always when you go to the school meetings, well, the parents are so horrible, and I kept saying, man, we are the parents, and we're not talking about you, they'd say. And then when I said, when I leave the room, you are talking about me, all the bad parents out there, because I'm not standing here anymore.
Yeah.
Okay. And so they begged me to run and be their champion. And I said, I will not go hang on the vine for you and your smattering of applause when I protect you. I said, I'll only be your quarterback when you provide me with a front line, a couple of wide receivers, a tight end, and a running back.
Yeah.
My God, it's a team organization here. And
Absolutely.
John Bennett's not going to be able to go out there and take the snap from center and then just scramble like hell. Okay,
Yeah.
you're going to have somebody blocking. Okay, and this is what I said. This is why I said I am not a diplomat like Van, and I'm not a scholar like Oldham. What I am is a wrecking ball. I will stand up and say, okay, that is bull crap. And then everybody says, you can't say that. You can't say that. And I sit down, and Van says what my colleague said me is. And then Oldham backs him up with the Constitution stuff. But you got Trump as a wrecking ball. Okay?
Yeah.
And that's what it is. But
I just say,
I appreciate you stepping up, Van, because it takes guts.
something you said there early on in that rant is important here. The head of the Oklahoma Tax Commission, Clark Jolly, used to be a Senate. He was a consummate insider. And I talked to him about some things, on this. And he says to me, he says, Dave, if you're not at the table, you're on the table. That's the analogy he used.
Yeah, you're either on the menu or at the table.
Yeah. So
it's an oldie but goodie.
no, there's another way of putting it. Yeah. So, but really, we've got to get all parts together. And I'm telling you, financing. Matt Pinnell had something great. It's called the Minuteman Club. It was $8.25 a month. Just put it on auto debit. Okay, it's a combo meal at a fast food place.
It's $100 a year.
Yeah, it came out to $100 a year. But you know what the beautiful thing he did for Matt? He had a certain portion of his funding coming from grassroots. So he wasn't totally begging and holding out, groveling to, our DC delegation or the Chamber of Commerce. So he needed every part working together, and he got the best cooperation when all these different factors realized they're just one facet. They're not the whole diamond.
Right. And I think that holds true in the sports analogy as well. The quarterback cannot also catch the ball. And so you can't have what I'll call over tessellation, if you're familiar with tessellation.
That's right. And we didn't hire him to be a blocker.
That's right.
Do your specialized skills.
Yeah. Allow the wide receiver to get open. Don't tell him how.
Yeah.
Let him get open,
Yeah.
And then, okay, Oldham, fine. Yeah. And then if your soccer player gets open, you kick him the ball. Oh, my God. It's called a pass. I think you and I can get along. It's called a pass.
It is a pass.
It's a pass. I think.
Know your team. Know your team and put the ball where they can get to. Not just because you see some green space.
My God, Oldham has found a bridge between me and him. This is. I think I'm gonna cry.
Hey, I learned how to play soccer by playing football.
There you go.
Football.
I learned not to hate the rule changes in American football by reading the Walter Camp History of Football. It's an old book written, 1896 or something, but it explains a lot of stuff. And I realized because soccer and football are genetically all related, and it's all like, hey, we're going to play a ball game. And through the 1850s, 1870s, there was so much popularity that they I'm doing good. That they had to decide, look, let's create rules that define what we're going to play today. And that's where it became soccer, and it became rugby, it became football.
Oh,
and
you
so
mean they didn't have rules before 1850?
They didn't have a ref, I'll tell you that. A fumble was a fumble. None of this stuff where they're like, I don't know, let's watch for 40 minutes in slow motion. You guys are still listening once again to the breaking news, to David Van running within the Republican Party to save it, along with John Bennett. Here on 3D Politics, David Oldham, David Van, Tommy McKay, your fine host. Once again, to close this thing out, the breaking news. David Van, tell us once again, you are running for what position in the GOP?
Vice chairman of the Oklahoma Republican Party.
In support of John Bennett, who's running
for chairman.
Chairman.
Yep.
So we have a Kirk and a Spock in position to help us run accordingly.
Yeah, I think I'm more like Bones, but that's okay.
I'll fix that.
Damn it, Jim.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm a doctor, not a script writer, I think it's
Yeah.
But anyway, so there's exciting stuff. We're going to move to Mars here in the next few years. So you guys get your go bags ready to go.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
we're headed there. I'm excited about that.
No.
Can I
not
give a
gonna.
shout out a couple of people that I've known for many years,
From
start with
Mars?
my San Antonio campaign.
Oh, all right.
Jim Bridenstine just said farewell to NASA. It was a short stint he had there, but I appreciate his passion. I appreciate the vision he's had for it. And listen, he's brought along his own chief of staff, Gabe Sherman. Gabe's a brilliant manager, a brilliant guy. Fact is, I have family connection with him in that he gave my son, my oldest son, his first gig in advertising. Actually, Gabe ran that advertising firm. And along with Matt Ryden, who is also public information officer, I believe, at NASA, he was there too. They're all coming back. Bridenstine just took a position, I think, with an investment house here in Oklahoma. The little secret is,
I wonder if
Yeah,
he'll sell his
NASA.
hedge fund stock.
I don't know, maybe it's that, but some few people know the whole time Bridenstine's been running NASA, he's been living here in Tulsa. He is still Oklahoma. Can I tell you one thing I told him when he
Dang it, I
announced?
thought you were going to say he was living on the moon.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. I was president of the Tulsa Republican Assembly when he came to our meeting himself and he announced, "This is my last term." He said, "I'm not running again." And he had no idea that he was going to be offered anything with NASA. But he said, "I want to come back here. I want to get involved with the Air National Guard. Want to continue my service in the military." And I said, "Jim, now look, in Tulsa, District 1, the last congressman who settled back in Tulsa after he left public service was Paige Belcher, way back in the early 70s. And I said, "Now, Jim, I can't promise you anything, but we've got a golf course and a federal building named after Paige Belcher." So we'll see what happens.
You made that joke. No. Yeah.
That's right. I made that all by myself, Tom.
Oh, that's good. I was like, I want to rip away.
Does that mean we have to rip them down so we can name them after somebody else?
Oh, no. I think they'll probably rename the Air and Space Museum after him.
Hey, I
could
will
be.
say this. Bridenstine's a little soldier like Langford will never know, okay? Bridenstine's a guy that'll march in place and do his job and what he said he was going to do and tell you what he's going to do ahead of time. Langford is like, "Oh, I swear. Oh, look, don't I look cute in a dress?"
Well,
I'm sorry.
the one thing about Jim was, even though he and I would disagree constitutionally on issues,
No.
I always knew exactly where Jim was going to land on something, and I always
right.
knew that his word was good.
Langford?
Bridenstine.
Yeah.
James,
Yeah. Oh, wow.
James, on the other hand, all over the map.
Langford. He
Yes,
says he's gonna, but doesn't.
But Jim Bridenstine, you always knew where he was going to go, and I knew what fight I was going to have with him, and so forth, and the discussions that I was going to have. With Langford, it's always we got to get to the Constitution, and you got to finally stand up and do what you're supposed to do. But anyway, yeah, it's two different ways of thinking, and I could always count on Jim Bridenstine.
Yeah, I even and Van, just a second, I'll throw this out there. I was critical, at least personally, of Bridenstine during the Trump transition when he said, "I'm gonna quit." He telegraphed early, if Biden wins, I'm out. In fact, he already said, "Look, I'm out of here for the." He said, "I'm out." Bridenstine said, "I'm going to quit as a NASA guy if Biden wins." And to me, I criticize that statement as being a weak statement. I think he should have there's no reason to say that. But essentially, that's Bridenstine. He's saying, "Look, you're not going to be surprised by what I do because I'm telling you what I'll do."
Well,
Bridenstine's transparent, it seems like.
Yes, but I have to say, in his defense on that, for the mission and the priorities of NASA that he fully believes in, you don't want to leave them with an abrupt, not only losing their administrator, but their chief of staff at the same time.
Right.
Because listen, Bridenstine wouldn't be Bridenstine without Gabe Sherman, without Matt Ryden. Those two people, I know things that I can't say, but I'm telling you, the genius of Gabe Sherman. Okay, whoever hiring Gabe, wherever you land, I hope I helped you just by saying that.
Just don't ever tell me you're telling me stuff you can't tell me.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just saying there are. It's amazing things. Now, listen, Gabe is a brilliant marketing guy. Brilliant. I mean, all the way back to Air and Space Museum, the director was Bridenstine, but who was working right under him? Gabe Sherman. Okay, and yeah, they shot for the moon. They tried to get a space shuttle here in Tulsa. I'm sorry, it didn't happen, but boy, they gave it their best. You know, who would have thought the fellas running the Air and Space Museum in Tulsa would end up running NASA?
It's about relationships, and we got aerospace. I mean, Tulsa's got aerospace. It's what we have.
That's right.
Yeah, aerospace.
Yeah, I have nothing but immense pride to call them fellow Oklahomans.
Oh yeah, the Bridenstine thing. He had it going. I mean, name recognition as a comedian. I was making jokes with that name just right off the bat. Wife of, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, he's proved to be a real soldier that you can count on, whereas Langford is whiffy waffy.
Yeah. Now, Bridenstine told a story of how he ended up at NASA. It was because of one tweet. One tweet. It was when the Billy Bush tapes came out and everybody in Congress wanted to run away from Trump. This was what, less than a month before the election in November. And so all of a sudden, Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan, says, I'm going to cancel that event I was doing with Trump. And so Bridenstine tweets, if Paul Ryan is not for Donald Trump, then I'm not for Paul Ryan. CNN picked up on that. They said, hey, you want to come on and tell us why? And he got on CNN and he said, this election is about one thing and one thing only, and that's the Supreme Court. That's why I'm a Trump supporter. You know,
man, that's impressive.
Trump, you know, he was telling us locally, he says he gets a call Saturday morning before the general election. And it was somebody in Washington says, hey, Trump wants to talk to you. Are you free in about 10 minutes? And he said, yeah, I'm just eating breakfast with my kids right here in Tulsa. And sure enough, he gets a call from Trump. And Trump says, Jim, I never thank you for standing by me in the wake of the Billy Bush things, the hot mic stuff.
Right.
And Bridenstine says, well, Donald, you know, I'm a Cruz guy. You have to understand that. And Trump says, I know. You're probably the reason I lost Oklahoma to Cruz in the primaries, you know. But and then, you know, a few weeks after inauguration and stuff, Pence calls him over to the White House because he and Pence were both charter members of the Freedom Caucus. So, you know, he's got that connection. And Pence pulls him aside and says, listen, we want to give you something here in the administration. And the NASA thing sounded good to you. So that's a little bit of the history of how Bridenstine ended up over there.
And even that's
great stuff, man.
That even that was a rough ride getting the position.
And I have to say, and Jim Bridenstine will say this himself, if it wasn't for the tenacious and heroic work of James Langford, it wouldn't have happened.
Well, you just saved Langford.
I'm just telling you, you got to call it all, balls and strikes.
Even if a child does the truth and she's in a dress, it's still the truth.
So I'm going to tell you something right here that I don't think has come out. I don't think you'll see Bridenstine looking at primarying Langford because there's already talk of it. And I'm going to predict right now it's not going to happen.
No, if anything, he will take over for Inhofe when Inhofe either succumbs to life.
That's Mark Wayne Mullen. There's another tidbit.
You know, Hitler, I don't want to be extreme or anything. Hitler was heroic in World War I, and then later, you're right, you couldn't count on him to do what he said.
Yeah.
So Langford might have done something heroic, but we found out later you can't count on what he says. The
So
man said,
we found out about that beforehand too.
Mhm.
It's been a
me and
running.
Oldham agreed again. Boom, baby.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
You did
guys,
a good job, Van. You
are we
guys did
about to wrap it up?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on.
Okay,
I
all right.
have a sad but also fun announcement.
Okay, let's
And
hear it.
that is that our friends out in Claremore, the city council voted 5-4 to make a mask mandate and keep it until what, April or June? I think June, and to pass this thing, or April, I think is what it was. And so they do have a mask mandate, but that may mean we're going to throw a mask-free party in Claremore just to shove it down their throats.
Yeah.
I would love to do that. So we'll be talking over the next week. Hopefully we'll have some news next
So
week. If not
Claremore,
before.
Buckle, what did the Blue Whale vote on that? Is
Well,
it
actually, what has happened in Claremore is the last time I believe it was 7-2, and this time it was 5-4. So two more members. It's going the right direction. It hasn't gone far enough, but it's going the right direction. They're barely making their and again, it's all illegal. So let's just go shove it in their face and have some fun.
Van, what do you got?
I want to say in this, I appreciate Tim Harper, one of our favorite guys in defending Second Amendment rights. She sent me a picture. I'm not going to pull it up. I'll just tell you. It's an arms store, gun store, ammunition store in Oklahoma City. Big sign says absolutely nobody admitted in these premises wearing any mask. No one. So if you've got businesses, you still have a right to exercise your responsibility to keep everybody safe in your store, including against people coming in unidentified, wearing masks, covering themselves up to conceal their identity.
And mind you, they have a perfectly good reason to do that.
Right.
Because that's usually the garb of robbers. And so they have a perfectly good reason for doing that. Unlike just simple discrimination. Now, if it was just down to simple discrimination, they would be illegal, and they still have a responsibility to find some way to accommodate the mask wearers out there.
Yeah.
So I hope that they are.
Yeah, I mean, Oldham, I think you just answered my question of why can they kick a person without a mask out, but they're forced to serve a black person if they don't want to. And the answer is because it's not simple discrimination with the mask. Simple discrimination is simple, but with the mask, it's not as simple.
Oh, no. Masking is simple discrimination. It is just flat out simple discrimination. You either have a mask and you get in, or you don't have a mask and you're not. It's like you got the right color skin or you don't. Or you've got the right religion and the garb to match, or you don't.
Right.
Okay. Okay. Well, what about, somebody decides, let's say a woman wants to come in topless and you want to make her wear at least a bra or bikini top. How's that different than making her wearing a mask? What
if we want? What if we don't like? What if we wear a certain bra?
The difference is that we have had clothing since Adam and Eve ate the fruit.
Oh, that makes it right then. Okay.
Oh, sure.
It is completely natural to require clothing, and there are good reasons to have certain clothing. Now, I was thinking about this because somebody asked me this question the other day. Whoa, no shoes, no shirt. It doesn't say anything about pants. So.
Okay, I think that's a deflection, Tom.
That was a good out, Oldham. I appreciate it. Once again, 3D Politics every Monday night at 7 p.m. Moving and shaking the world of Oklahoma politics with David Van from SoonerPolitics.org and, of course, David Oldham from ConstitutionalGrounds.com. I am Tommy McKay, your fine political host, verbal Viking, and perspicuous pirate of conversation. We will see all of you guys next week on Monday night. Thanks, guys.
Good night.
All right.